On the news tonight, President Bola Tinubu leads top government officials to honor fallen and serving members of the Nigerian military at Armed Forces Remembrance Day. Governor Sheriff Oborevwori honors fallen heroes at 2026 Armed Forces Remembrance Day. Federal Government and Academic Staff Union of Universities renegotiate agreement to end recurring strikes in universities. And abroad, NATO braces in defense of Greenland against U.S. planned incursion. Good evening and welcome to Delta Television Main News tonight. I am Pauline Okoli. You can also follow our news online on Facebook at Delta Broadcasting Service Asaba and on YouTube at Delta Broadcasting Service Asaba, or visit our website at www.dbsasaba.com. President Bola Tinubu has led other top government officials to honor fallen and serving members of the Nigerian military and armed forces celebration and Remembrance Day AFCRD ceremony in Abuja. The AFCRD is celebrated every January 15 to commemorate the sacrifices of both living and dead, both in foreign missions and internal security operations. As in previous years, the 2026 AFCRD began with the submission of the parade states by the parade commander. This was followed by inspection of the Guard of Honor by the Vice President Kashim Shettima, who represented the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, accompanied by the Commander, Guards Brigade, Brigadier General Adebisi Onosanya. A firing party thereafter led dignitaries to the cenotaph for the laying of wreaths. The last peals was sounded in honor of fallen heroes as all present stood in respect. Special prayers were later offered by an imam and a chaplain for the repose of the souls of the departed and the protection of serving personnel. This was followed by a minute of silence in honor of the fallen soldiers. The Chief of Defense Staff, CDS, General Olufemi Oluyede, led the service chiefs to lay the wreaths at the cenotaph. The CDS was followed by the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Waidi Shaibu, Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sunday Aneke, the Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Idi Abbas, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, and other officials. Meanwhile, the grand finale of the 2026 Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day has been held at the Cenotaph, Asaba. The solemn gathering was attended by Governor Sheriff Oborevwori, his deputy Sebmande Onyeme, service chiefs, and other top government functionaries. Ejime Udweme reports.
Governor Oborevwori at the event inspected Guard of Honor. As mark of honor for the nation's fallen heroes, there was laying of wreaths at the tomb of the unknown soldier. Those who laid the wreaths were Governor Sheriff Oborevwori, his deputy Sebmande Onyeme, the Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Emomotimi Guwo, the State Chief Judge, Justice Teresa Diaye, and Secretary to State Government, Dr. Kingsley Emon. Others were Service Commanders, the Chairman, Delta State Traditional Rulers Council, Anoroje of Okpe, Major General Felix Mujakperu, retired, Chairman, Nigerian Legion, Chief Roberts Akpojowo, and representative of Widows of Fallen Heroes, Mrs. Sarah Nwanze. Fallen heroes were also honored with gun salute, special prayers by Christian and Muslim clerics, as well as release of pigeons to signify peace. In an interview, State Chairman of Widows of Fallen Heroes, Mrs. Sarah Nwanze, and other notable veterans, including Honorable Victor Nwokolo and Honorable Ndudi Ilumelu, said upkeep of families of deceased soldiers should be given a pride of place in the scheme of things.
I thank God for the cause my husband belongs. Like I said, is the coursemate to General Irabo. He pays my children's school fees. Think about others who don't have such privilege and opportunity. So he picks my bills.
There should be a better insurance policy to take care of whoever that dies in active service. It is very, very important. That's why we are talking about comprehensive life insurance policy.
There should be a legislation that should enforce full empowering of families of the deceased heroes. Look at fighting of insecurity. If you don't let them see what you are doing for their fallen heroes, they will not be encouraged.
They said Armed Forces Remembrance Day should be a day to extol the sacrifices of serving and retired military and paramilitary officers, stressing that upward review of their remuneration will boost the morale of young officers in their service to the nation. The occasion featured military and paramilitary parades.
15th of January every year should not be the only day and time to remember our fallen heroes. It should be on regular basis. For Delta TV News, Ejime Udueme reporting.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has given approval for the full rollout of Nigeria's carbon market framework, a far-reaching climate policy expected to yield no less than $3 billion in annual revenue by 2030. The decision was made public on Thursday by the Special Assistant to the President on social media through his verified X handle, who described the approval as a decisive move to position Nigeria as a leading player in the global carbon trading space. The framework is designed to stimulate large-scale trading in emission allowances across strategic sectors of the economy, unlocking fresh income streams for the country while reinforcing its climate action agenda. As part of the policy, the federal government is set to establish a national carbon registry, mandates emissions reporting by companies, and introduce phase compliance measures consistent with Nigeria's climate obligations. These include interim emissions reduction targets by 2035 and the long-term objective of net zero emissions by 2060. To spur investor confidence, the framework offers robust incentives, including up to 10 years of tax exemptions on carbon credit earnings, accelerated capital allowances for investments in low-carbon assets, and research and development deductions linked to emissions reduction initiative. The measures are aimed at dismantling structural bottlenecks that have historically constrained carbon market investments, while enhancing Nigeria's standing as a climate-responsive economy capable of attracting green finance and driving sustainable growth. The approval underscores the Tinubu administration's broader push to diversify national revenue, align economic growth with environmental responsibility, and secure Nigeria a competitive footing in the fast-evolving global carbon economy. The federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, has unveiled a nearly-negotiated agreement aimed at resolving long-standing disputes in Nigeria's tertiary education sector, resulting in incessant strikes and closure of universities. The 2025 agreement is the conclusion of a renegotiation process that began in 2017 to review the 2009 FG-ASU Pact, which was due for revision in 2012. Several committees set up under past administrations, chaired by Wale Babalakin, Munzali Jibrin, and Nimi Briggs, failed to deliver a final agreement. The breakthrough came under the current administration, which inaugurated the Yayale Ahmed-led renegotiation committee in October 2024. An agreement was reached about 14 months later, focusing on improved conditions of service, funding, university autonomy, academic freedom, and broader reforms to reverse sectoral decay, curb brain drain, and reposition universities for national development. A major provision of the agreement is the upward review of the remuneration of academic staff in federal universities by 40% with effect from January 1, 2026. Under the new structure, salaries will comprise the consolidated university academic staff salary and the consolidated academic tools allowance, which accounts for the 40% increment. The federal government has approved the disbursement of 2026 intervention funds to 271 tertiary institutions nationwide through the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TET Fund. Speaking in Abuja, the Executive Secretary of TET Fund, Mr. Sonny Echono, said universities will receive over 2.5 billion naira each, polytechnics about 1.8 billion naira, while colleges of education would get more than 2 billion naira. Mr. Echono said the funds cover annual special direct allocations, designated projects, and stabilization funds. He expressed concern over delays by some institutions in project processing and poor use of the TET Fund Terrace platform, urging heads of institutions to improve planning and compliance with guidelines. He announced new interventions including research and education network support, robotics, artificial intelligence and cybersecurity centers, expanded farm projects, laboratories, IC development and student hostels, while commending the Federal Inland Revenue Service for effective education tax collection. The immediate past Commissioner for Secondary Education in the state, Chief Mrs. Rose Ezeu, has assumed duty as a new Commissioner for Primary Education. She takes over from Dr. Kingsley Ashibogu, who has been redeployed as a Commissioner for Secondary Education. Speaking shortly after assuming office, Chief Mrs. Ezeu described her deployment as an opportunity to further contribute to the development of education in the state, particularly at the foundational level. She expressed gratitude to Governor Sheriff Oborowori for finding her ready to serve again, having previously handled the secondary education portfolio. The new commissioner pledged to give her best to reposition primary education in Delta State and take it to greater heights. She also called for the cooperation and support of all stakeholders to achieve the set goals of the Oborowori administration in the education sector. It will be recalled that Governor Sheriff Oborowori yesterday approved a minor reshuffle in his cabinet, which took immediate effect. Ahead of the National Identification Number NIN registration, scheduled to begin on Monday next week, Deltans who have not registered have been enjoined to actively participate in the exercise to enable the government effectively plan for development and social welfare. The Director General of the State Orientation and Communications Bureau, Dr. Fred Oyenesiwe, made the call while receiving the Delta State Coordinator of the National Identity Management Commission, NIMSI, Mrs. Grace Obels Robinson, at his office in Asaba. Gloria Otolo reports.
Dr. Oyenesiwe stressed that accurate and comprehensive data remain critical to sustainable development, noting that the National Identification Number NIN registration exercise would provide government with reliable information on the state's actual population. He explained that proper NIN registration will also help authorities determine the number of buildings and structures across the state, thereby improving planning, service delivery, and infrastructure development. The Orientation Bureau DG added that Governor Sheriff Oborowori was deeply committed to the welfare of Deltans and required dependable population figures to effectively plan and implement policy in key areas such as development, social services, and economic growth. He urged residents of the state to therefore ensure that they and their household were duly registered, describing the NIN as a vital tool for inclusive governance and long-term development.
But I can say it's a collective collaboration because it will benefit the federal government to also benefit the state government. It will also enable us as a state to know the number of persons that we have, so that when we are planning also, like the federal government, we know how to plan. Back home here in Delta, His Excellency is very concerned about the welfare of Deltas. and he actually really want to know the actual figure of the people in the state.
Speaking earlier, the Delta State Coordinator of the National Identification Management Commission, NIMC, Ms. Grace Obels Robinson, said the commission was partnering with the relevant agencies to create wide public awareness for the exercise. She explained that the collaboration with the State Orientation Bureau aligned with the President's directive to ensure all Nigerians were captured in the national database.
And this registration is for fresh, those that are not registered before. We don't want somebody that have registered before, maybe because he lost the NIN will come and repeat it. No, we cannot do it alone. We need collaboration with other agencies.
The NIMC official said the registration would commence on Monday, January 19, and run for 6 weeks, targeting all unregistered persons from age 0. Gloria Otolo reporting.
The Minister of Defense, General Christopher Musa, retired, has pledged to strengthen security around schools across the country to guarantee a safe and conducive learning environment for students. The minister gave the assurance in Abuja while receiving an award from the National Parents Teachers Association of Nigeria, NAPTAN, in recognition of his role in advancing the Safe Schools initiative. General Musa said the federal government would continue to collaborate with parents, teachers, and other stakeholders to protect students, stressing that education could not thrive without adequate security. He described parents and teachers as critical partners in nation building, noting that quality education and discipline were essential to raising responsible citizens and preventing social instability. Earlier, the president of NAPTAN, Mr. Haruna Danjuma, said the minister's appointment reflected his years of service to national security, particularly his role in initiating the Safe Schools program while serving as Chief of Defense Staff. He said the initiative had reassured parents and improved school attendance amid security challenges. The Nigeria Customs Service has announced introduction of a new operating procedure for regulating courier companies operating under the Delivered Duty Paid DDP in Incoterm. Customs says the new framework will standardize registration, manifest, submission, declaration, valuation, clearance, delivery, and compliance monitoring in line with global best practices. Under the procedure, courier companies intending to operate the DDP regime must obtain licenses from the Customs Headquarters License and Permit Unit and submit required documents including CAC registration and compliance bonds. The service also directed licensed operators to submit an advanced electronic manifest at least 24 hours before shipment arrival, clearly stating DDP as the Incoterm and providing full shipment details to enhance transparency and security. The Ahaba Primary School, Asaba, Oshimili South, has been given a boost in its academic activities with the donation of 200 tables and chairs, as well as 1,000 pieces of 80-leaf notebooks by the members of the ASDEF 81 Club, Asaba USA chapter. Jude Agbaeke reports.
Chairman of ASDEF 81 Club Asaba USA chapter, Ugboshi Larry Okolo, and the project chairman of the chapter, Ugboshi Emmanuel Obi, represented by Ugboshi Ephraim Okocha, said the chapter believes strongly that together with a common purpose centered on community development, a great difference could be made towards making things better for the people of Asaba.
This tables and chairs donation is just the beginning. We plan to continue, financing and then support generally for all other schools in the different phases. We want to make sure that we open up and fix some of this stuff.
The Asaba of Asaba, Obi Epiphany Azinge, while commending the ASDEF 81 Club for always attending to the needs of the community, called on other indigenous of Asaba to emulate the group, saying, under his reign, he would continue to work towards making Asaba the investment destination in the country.
Ahaba is the seat of the beginning of Asaba. This is the first place that Kanebisi, the father of Asaba, came into. And this is why it is called Ahaba. Ahabam that have come in. Its historical significance in the history of Asaba cannot be taken for granted.
Commissioner for Secondary Education, Dr. Kingsley Ashibogo, in his remarks, lauded the ASDEF 81 Club USA chapter for its intervention, saying such gestures were needed from well-meaning individuals and corporate bodies to complement government's efforts.
Thank every stakeholder who deem it fit to contribute in the development of education. As a ministry, we want to appreciate you once more and also appeal that don't see funding of education as just the duty of the state government or federal government alone.
A former head of service in the state and member of the ASDEF 81 Club Asaba, Sir Okey Ofili, urged the school authority to ensure judicious use of the items towards attracting more interventions.
It's a love of community, the desire to give back to the society, to ensure that our young children are brought up in conducive educational environments, and most importantly, to give back to society what society has done for us.
The headmistress of the Ahaba Primary School Asaba, Mrs. Elizabeth Echenwa, among others, in their remarks described the donations as a welcome development, urging other bodies to emulate the ASDEF 81 Club. The learning materials were formally presented to the school by the Asaba monarch, Ubi Epiphany Azinge. Jude Agbeke reported.
You're watching Delta Television main news. Still to come. NATO races in defense of Greenland against U.S. planned incursion. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
This moment in every corner of Delta State, brilliance waits to be discovered. But too often, these dreams are dimmed by circumstances. For our first season, 13 exceptional minds broke through. Out of hundreds of applicants, these individuals emerged at the top, not just as scholars, but as torchbearers of hope. This is not charity. This is justice. Because talent deserves investment. And now, the good news. Season 2 is here. Full tuition, on-campus accommodation, living support, career mentoring from entry to graduation. Applications are now open for indigents of Delta State. And it runs between now to the 28th of February 2026. Visit www.otemoeducationalfoundation.org to apply. Remember, learn today, lead tomorrow.
Welcome back. The global scene is next as we join our global news desk.
A 15-strong French military contingent has arrived in the Greenland capital Nuuk
as several European states sent soldiers there as part of so-called reconnaissance mission. The deployment, which will also include personnel from Germany, Sweden, Norway, and the UK, comes as US President Donald Trump continues to press his claim to the Arctic island, which is a semi-autonomous part of Denmark. French President Emmanuel Macron said the initial troop deployment would be reinforced in the coming days with land, air, and sea assets. Senior French diplomat Olivier Poivre-Avaux said the mission are sending a strong political signal, saying it was a first exercise to show the US that NATO is present. The movement of military personnel comes after Denmark and Greenland's foreign ministers traveled to Washington for a meeting with US Vice President J.D. Vance yesterday. Following the meeting, Danish Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen said while the talks were constructive, there remain a fundamental disagreement between the two sides, and later criticized President Trump's bid to buy Greenland. Meanwhile, President Trump doubled down on his bid to bring Greenland under US control, telling reporters in the Oval Office that they need Greenland for national security, although he did not rule out the use of force. He said yesterday that something could be worked out with Denmark.
And back home, let's join our business news desk for happenings in the business sector.
The federal government has directed all banks and fintechs to collect and remit 7.5% value-added tax (VAT) on certain electronic banking services effective Monday, January 19 this year, according to an email notice issued by payment platforms. The VAT will apply to electronic banking charges, including mobile money transfers, USSD transaction fees, and card issuance fees. For example, if a bank charges 100 Naira to make a transfer, the 7.5% VAT will be applied to that service fee, not the money being sent. Other operators are expected to issue similar notices to their customers in the coming days. Services that will remain exempt include interest earned on deposits and savings, meaning customers will not pay tax on the returns from their accounts. The NRS, formerly known as the Federal Inland Revenue Service, has set the deadline to ensure that all commercial banks, microfinance banks, and electronic money operators comply with the collection and remittance requirements.
In sports, Super Eagles head coach Eric Chell has said only the Nigeria Football Federation (NFF) can decide his future. Chell signed a 2-year contract with the NFF in January 2025. The 48-year-old was handed the target of getting the Super Eagles to the final of the 2025 African Cup of Nations. Nigeria, however, fell short, losing 4-2 on penalties to hosts Atlas Lions of Morocco at the semi-final in Rabat. Chell expressed his desire to continue leading the team. Still in sports, the Athletics Federation of Nigeria (AFN) has imposed sweeping sanctions on 21 athletes, alongside coaches and 2 state athletics associations, following the conclusion of a special investigation into age falsification at the 2025 African Under-18 and Under-20 CAF Championships held in Abeokuta. The investigation panel, constituted on December 9, 2025, was set up to examine allegations of age discrepancies involving young Nigerian athletes, earlier flagged by the Athletics Integrity Unit (AIU) of World Athletics on December 2, 2025. In its findings, the panel confirmed widespread violations, stating that several athletes registered and participated in competitions using inconsistent ages without any legitimate explanation. According to the report, several of the affected athletes had previously been queried by the AIU and were either representing training in or being coached from the two states. As part of its recommendations, the panel proposed a fine of 2.5 million naira for each of the implicated states, a public reprimand by the AFN, and the impossibility of suspension for future youth games or national sports festival events should further violations occur. Thought for the day: in the middle of every difficulty lies opportunity. We'll take a look at our highlights before we go. President Bola Tinubu has led all the top government officials to honor fallen and serving members of the Nigerian military and the Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day AFCRD ceremony in Abuja. The AFCRD celebrated every January 15 to commemorate the sacrifices of both living and dead, both in foreign missions and internal security operations. The grand finale of the 2026 Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day has been held at the Cenotaph, Asaba. The solemn gathering was attended by Governor Sheriff Oborowori, his deputy Samande Onyeme, service chiefs, and other top government functionaries. The federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities have unveiled a renegotiated agreement to end recurrent strikes and university closures. The 2025 Pact provides for improved funding, university autonomy, and a 40% salary increase for federal university lecturers effective January 1, 2026. And abroad, NATO braces in defense of Greece against U.S. planned incursion. And that's our news. You can also follow us on Facebook at Delta Broadcasting Service Asaba and on YouTube at Delta Broadcasting Service Asaba, or visit our website at www.dbsasaba.com. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Pauline Okole. Good night.